So it was difficult to tell if she was being honest or not. I was inclined to believe her because she had never given me any reason to doubt her throughout the entirety of our relationship. When she got home the following day, she told me that she had a conversation with the coworker and he explained what happened. He thought he saw them in a compromising position through her window, but she told him that what he saw was them sitting close while she helped show him something on the computer. The intern even confirmed that was the case and assured the coworker that nothing was going on. I felt relieved that it seemed to have been over. I didn't think that my wife was cheating on me, but it was good to know that she had resolved that issue with her coworker. Several weeks later, my office gave all of the employees a 4-day weekend because they had to renovate some parts of the building. I had that Monday off and figured it would be nice to surprise my wife with a nice lunch at work. I stopped by her favorite restaurant, grabbed her usual order, and went to her office. I ran into a few of her coworkers and we caught up for a couple of minutes before I made my way to my wife. I had stopped by her office many times before and normally I would knock a couple of times and then peek inside. When I went to do that this time, the door was locked. I figured she was in a meeting of some kind and didn't want to be interrupted by anyone. But I heard some shuffling on the other side of the door and my wife said to give her just a minute. I waited for her to open it, and when she did I saw that there was a young man behind her desk with a chair next to hers. My wife brought me in and introduced me to her intern. I noticed immediately that his cheeks were kind of flushed and he had his hands resting on his groin. After what her coworker accused her of, I wouldn't think she would be so close to her intern with the door locked like that. I definitely had some red flags waving at the time. I told my wife that I brought her lunch and she thanked me, dismissing her intern for an early lunch. I asked her why the door was locked and she said that she hadn't realized it was. She said she must have bumped it. It was just one of those push-button locks, so it kind of made sense. The intern hurried out of the office and I had lunch with my wife. I got home and I just couldn't shake the feeling that I had interrupted something. The way the intern looked was pretty suspicious. And given what her coworker told me, I think it was reasonable to question what I saw. Later that night, she called me and told me that she had a last-minute Zoom meeting with some overseas clients and would be coming home late. That was a very rare thing to happen to her. She was a very busy woman at work and last-minute things just didn't happen. I was even more suspicious about what was going on. I thought about what I wanted to do for a bit and eventually, I reached out to the coworker who told me about the intern. When I called him and asked him specifically what he saw, he implied that he thought he saw my wife performing oral on the intern. At least, she was in the position to be doing so. I asked him if there really was a last-minute meeting and he told me that he didn't think there was. I think with the questions I was asking he was able to figure out that I thought there was something going on between her and the intern that night. An important thing to know about this guy, he was next in line for the promotion that my wife got. I was aware that things he said could only be taken with a grain of salt because his motives might not have been the best. But if what he was saying was true I needed to figure it out. He offered to meet me at the office so he could let me in since he had clearances to go. I agreed and we met there about 15 minutes later. He brought me up to their offices where we could hear that somebody was still there and having very loud sex. Without even seeing who it was, I knew that it was my wife. I heard those noises before. Still, we walked toward them so we could catch them in the act. I found my wife on her desk with the intern. When I opened the door they jumped apart from each other and tried to cover themselves. My wife stammered trying to find the words to explain what was going on, but she couldn't. I regretted not getting any documented evidence of it, but thankfully I had another witness there with me so hopefully they could testify in the divorce proceedings that my wife was in fact cheating on me. I stormed out of the office and went home, locking myself in the bedroom so my wife couldn't get in. The following day, I reached out to the coworker that I had gone to the office with and he told me that he was reporting it to our. Later that day, I overheard my wife get a call and it was clear that she was terminated. She was very upset by whatever happened on the phone call. The intern was let go from the office as well. I asked the guy what that would mean for him, and he told me that likely he would not get credit for whatever class he was doing the internship for and would most likely have to retake it. It wasn't the worst punishment for him, but at the same time, I do feel like my wife was in a position of power with him which seemed like she could have taken advantage of it. I did end up divorcing my wife and with the testimony of the other person who was with me when we discovered her cheating, I did not have to give her anything in the divorce. She lost her job and her husband, house, and won't get to see her child much anymore due to split custody. All for some meaningless fling with her intern.